Yo, right now, the world is probably in the craziest place it has ever been. And it's really not probably because that is really just what it is right now. A lot of you guys may be Christians, some of you guys aren't. I don't really categorize myself as a Christian per se, but I do read the Bible and I grew up reading the Bible. And one of the things that it says in the Bible is as we approach the last days, we start to see more and more and more, right? I mean, of the things that we see today. So sickness has become normal. Like every day it seems like it's a new virus, right? Death is normalized. These are all things that we talk about in the Bible. It's like every day a superstar, the kid from down the street, people, family, unfortunately for some, are dying. And it's just a crazy ass place to be in right now, you know? To think that all of this is going on a floating rock in the middle of a galaxy is crazy to me. But this is what's going on, right? The world is actually hella dramatic. I'm not gonna lie to you. But as you guys know, I just moved back to Detroit. I moved back to Detroit in September, so I've been working ever since, trying to grind, stack up some money. I got a couple businesses and stuff that I got to start, trying to get my credit together, just little stuff I got on the way. And one of the things that I've been practicing this year is consistency. So I've been trying to be consistent with everything I've been doing on social media, learning more and more and more. As you guys know, I'm at 70K, 66K. I keep saying 70K because I'm rounding up, but 66K on TikTok. I don't know why I haven't been on Instagram, but I literally got on Instagram a month ago and I'm already at 7K followers. My social media is growing, and I said, why don't I just be consistent on YouTube, right? And so, when I was going through my videos and this, that, and the third, I was looking at all of the videos that got hella views, and I guess it was me talking. I don't know why the hell I kept trying to vlog and do all this crazy shit. I mean, I still want to do that later on, but definitely what people like to see is me talking, right? My experiences on stuff. One of the things that caught my eye this week was Congo. And it's really been on my mind the last couple of weeks. I just don't understand, why is it not being talked about? Why is it not being covered? Why are we not talking about what's really going on in the Democratic, what is the DRC? I forget what the R stand for. But why are we not talking about Congo? Why are we not talking about the conflict that's going on in Congo right now, right? And so it just was something that just was on my mind. So I pick up my phone one day and I say this: the suffering of Africans has become so normalized that you guys aren't even paying attention to the world's largest displacement crisis. I want y'all to give Sudan the energy y'all gave Palestine, the energy y'all gave Gaza. Because what's going on in Sudan is 10 times worse, literally. 2 million people were displaced in Gaza. Do you know how many people were displaced in Sudan? 30 million. Sudan has an IPC level of 5. If you do not know what that means most of the people there are facing acute hunger. And IPC level 5 means that a lot of people are dying from fucking starvation. Gaza only ever hit a level 4. Which is fucked up. It's still horrible, but it's no level 5. It was hard to get aid in Gaza, right? It's incredibly hard to get aid into Sudan. You gotta remember, the conflict in Sudan is between RSF and the Sudanese military. A significant amount of what they are fighting about is territory, okay? So in certain regions in Sudan, it's no safe way to enter or leave. Rival gangs, rival armies are literally stealing aid from other people to control them and to gain resources. I did not make this video to have a pissing contest. What happened in both of these places was horrible. I made this video to say we should give Sudan the energy that we gave Gaza, especially because it's worse. That's not an opinion, it's a fucking fact. Now, after I get done saying this, I basically I just posted it like I do with any video. And people in the comments was like, yo, you comparing Congo to Palestine, and you know, you making this a suffering Olympics. There's no need for that. You know, you're being the typical black male. You want to be a victim to everything and da da da. And my goal was not to compare the two to say, hey, this one is worse than this and whoop. I didn't want to make a suffering Olympics. But what I wanted to do for sure, and what I'm going to continue to do, is call out selective empathy, right? And so I want to show you guys. Let me go to my notes real quick. The word of the day is, well, the term of the day is racialized endurance. So racialized endurance is a term that I guess I made up a long time ago. I said it on TikTok. And basically, what it does is it really highlights the expectation that society has for Black Americans when they are just trying to get through their day to day, right? So, Black Americans face pain, trauma, oppression, etc. The list goes on and on and on. I don't really feel like I have to read that list down, but if you don't know, then you can go to Google, like we all should, because we're all grown. And we are just supposed to roll with the punches. We are just supposed to be on go. We are supposed to get punched in the stomach, kicked in the kneecaps, drugged down the street, beat, raped, enslaved, etc. And do it with a smile on our face, because that is what the white man expects us to do. And when we step outside of that box in any way, shape, or form, it becomes a problem. And the problem with that is we have when we expect Black people to just roll with the punches, whenever a Black person says, you know what, bro, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to call you guys out on your bullshit. They are the worst person in the world. They are categorized as a threat to society, a threat to the United States of America. They're a threat to the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, etc. They are a threat to everyone. I mean, we kind of see this really going on with Jasmine Crockett right now. I feel like they are trying to brainwash us into believing this Black woman who is calling out Donald Trump's bullshit is the biggest threat to society, you know? And do I agree with everything Jasmine Crockett has said? Absolutely not. But I don't think that she's a bad candidate for running. And I think she's doing her thing. And I think the fact that this Black woman has so much focus right now and is getting so much attention from the White House, I think really speaks volume. But it goes to show that when Black people speak up, when they're not, standing in a corner and shutting the hell up and just rolling with the punches like they expect us to do, and during the pain, the trauma, and everything else that they expect us to do, we are categorized as a villain, right? And that kind of even speaks volume to the vilification of African Americans, right? But we're going to stay on topic. So I don't know if I already told you guys, but I've been reading Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. Just because, like I told you guys, I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to build my following. I'm just trying to learn more, right? Have more stuff to talk about. And so Thomas Sowell is a Black conservative. This man has been putting out books and working in the community before my mom was born. I think he's like 90 or something like that. But the man is a fucking genius, flat out. I mean, there's no other word to describe it. And I opened up the book. This is actually the first book that I read by him, Discrimination and Disparities. And I first heard about him through via Candace Owens. And so when I opened up the book, the very first thing that he's tackling is prerequisites and disparities, right? And so prerequisites kind of, I'm going to start with disparities. Disparities kind of focus on the difference in outcome, whereas prerequisites focus on what happened to make things come out the way that they did, if that makes sense. So a good example is, okay, let's say little Johnny and Day Day go off to college, right? They both go to college, they both have high IQs, they both go to Harvard. Day becomes a lawyer, little Johnny ends up becoming an entrepreneur, right? Why did they go down the path that they go down? Well, whichever one that I said went off to college, I forget. He comes from a family of people who prioritize education. They push education. That is where he comes from. And the one who becomes an entrepreneur, he didn't really come from that. He come from a family of successful entrepreneurs, and they don't really care about education. That is not a priority for them. And so the disparity there is they both, came out of a situation, but they went in two totally different routes, right? This different outcomes. But the prerequisite here is the fact that they both came from two totally different families, right? And we see this all the time. We see people that we grew up with. I tell people, if you're from the hood, you see this all the time. You see the pretty girl who we both, if you're from any inner city area, it was two pretty girls that were supposed to grow up and be whatever the hell that you want to be. And one of them went on to be a model, actress, whatever the hell that she was going to be. And the other one became a crackhead. You get what I'm saying? And you question yourself like, well, how the hell did that happen? Well, it's typically the prerequisite is what we got to focus on, right? Because the prerequisite is telling us that it's something. It's a chain of events that occurred that made one of those girls go down a path that they went down. right? And a lot of times in society, especially in our community, the black community, we focus on disparities. We focus on the difference in outcome, but we're not paying attention to the prerequisites. Why are things the way that they are? And again, I'm just in the beginning pages of this book, but literally, if you have a library, if you want to take your hard-earned money, I don't know anybody's situation. I know the economy is crazy right now. Go get this book. But enough of me yapping. Let's just go ahead and hop into topic number one. Okay, so Congo, right? I want to talk about why is the suffering of Africans so real. Okay, so I wrote this paragraph. I'm not gonna lie, I did not memorize it. But let me just tell you this. So one thing I want everybody to understand is genocide overall is not a new thing in Congo, right? This goes back to the late 90s. Okay, right? We're in 2025, just to let you guys know. So the conflict in Congo has been named the second deadliest conflict since World War II. An estimated 6 million people died in the late 90s, right? And this conflict is still going on. As of 2025, in January, 7,000 people died. It is the world's largest displacement crisis, and yet this has not gotten the proper media coverage or aid it deserves, right? And my question is, why do I see Palestine, excuse me, my question is, why do I see Palestine getting aid? Why do I see Palestine getting media coverage? Why do I see Palestine being branded as one of the worst events to ever occur in human history, but I do not see that with Congo? And it's not because I don't feel like that Palestine should get that. No, 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 no. I am for it. I really believe, and I feel bad I donated to people in Palestine. I really do. I really feel like people in Palestine deserve everything that they're getting. By that I mean aid and coverage. But I'm just truly, truly, truly interested to know why. Why isn't it? And again, it's not to compare the two. It's not to say, oh, this one is worse and this one is bad. That really doesn't serve us any good, right? It doesn't give us anything. But what it does, and what I'm doing is I'm highlighting selective empathy, right? Because this is a big, big, big issue that I feel like Americans as a whole have, but the world has, right? And so our disparity here is we are seeing selective empathy, right? But the prerequisite, now that leads us down a different path. That leads us down a path of why. Why are these things coming the way that they are? Okay, well, let's dive into it. Selective empathy isn't about who's suffering the most. It's about who fits the world's emotional, political, and media narrative. Okay? Congo does not fail a morality test. It failed a visibility test that was designed without it in mind. I'm going to say that one more time. Congo does not fail a morality test. It failed a visibility test. I don't think y'all understand what I mean by that. Okay? Congo, we all agree, everybody watching this video, at least you should, that what is going on in Congo is horrible. We don't want millions of people to die. Millions and millions and millions of people have been dying literally since the late 90s due to this conflict that's going on, due to this genocide that's going on in Congo. But it's not being seen. Why is that? Well, let's go back to what I said earlier. It's about who fits the world's emotional, political, and media narratives. Right? We gotta realize, what did we start this video off talking about, right? Racialized endurance. It's the expectation that Black Americans and Africans as a whole are supposed to roll with the punches. We are supposed to get punched in the stomach, get our ass whooped, dragged up and down Linwood, beat up, raped, slaved, all of it, and just do it with a smile on our faces saying, yes, master. And when we don't, we are the person who is the enemy. We are vilified as people. I just want to highlight that because I feel like that is something that the right is constantly trying to push us. They're trying to manipulate us into believing that what we do, when we stand up, when we say we are tired of the bullshit that y'all are constantly throwing our way, we are the motherfucking problem, and we are not. We are just fucking not. Flat out. Now, let's break the actual prerequisites, right? That trigger global empathy. Okay, so my first point that I wrote down here, I said suffering has to be legible. Okay, to Western audiences, Palestine is framed in ways Western media already knows how to process. Okay, so suffering has to be legible in Western audiences. And we see Palestine getting the coverage that it does because it is framed in a way that Western media understands, and they understand how to push it, right? Western media knows how to cover Palestine. They don't know how to cover what's going on in Congo, what's going on in Sudan. Nobody's talking about that. And what does this look like? Well, it looks like clear visuals, familiar geopolitical language, a digestible conflict arc, which, again, the conflict in Congo, the conflict in Sudan is something that is very, very complicated. Congo's violence is long-term, fragmented, resource-driven, and it's not episodic, but it's chronic. Okay? Chronic pain gets normalized. Acute pain gets moored. What does that mean? I got it for you right here. When suffering happens all the time, people stop reacting to it. When it happens suddenly, people feel shocked and respond. When suffering happens all the time, people stop reacting to it. But when it happens suddenly, people feel shocked and they respond. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys went to school or not, but you ever go to high school and it's the quiet guy in the classroom? It's the guy that people pick on him, and one day that one bully picks on him, he get up and he whoop their ass. And everybody's like, oh my God, why did he do that? Wow. But he been getting picked on all day. So chronic pain gets normalized. We used to seeing a boy get his ass whooped all up and down the street, get chased home from school, right? But acute pain gets mourned. Because once he pop, lock, and drop, everybody don't know what the fuck to do. Okay? Chronic pain gets normalized. Acute pain gets mourned. That is why when we see black people get shot by the police, it's unfortunate. It's a horrible thing, right? We raise hell about it. But when a white child experiences police brutality, which they have, Latin child experience police brutality, when anybody else of another ethnic background experiences police brutality, the world has to fucking stop. When black women are being taken advantage of, it's not that big of a deal. When a white woman is being taken advantage of, it's the end of the fucking world. When a black kid goes missing, oh my gosh, it's really not that big of a deal. Black kids go missing all the time. When a white child, a Latin child, an Arabic child goes missing, it is the end of the world. That is because chronic pain gets normalized. Acute pain gets mourned. When suffering happens all the time, people stop responding. But when it happens every once in a while, people become shocked and they respond quickly. So when we see Africans as a whole, Africans all around, the whole diaspora, when they are suffering, that is normal. It don't matter if you are Africa in Detroit, or if you are African in Detroit. It don't matter if you are African in Jamaica. It don't matter if you are African in Afghanistan. Your suffering is normalized. That's chronic pain. But acute pain, when we see people of a different skin color, when we see people of a lighter complexion, when we see people from somewhere that's other than Africa, it's the end of the world, because these people usually don't go through this. They don't. It's just the truth. And I'm not just talking about Middle Easterns. I'm talking about everyone. They don't. They don't go through this. Right? They don't suffer like we do. And it's so funny because that is completely in contrast. Everything that I'm saying is completely in contrast with the right's point of view, because they want us to believe that we aren't suffering. They are actively trying to weaponize policy against us, but want us to believe that we are not suffering. And it's not just a black and white thing. They're doing this to everybody. They're doing this to the poor whites. If you are not a rich white person in 2025 in America, you are not valued. That is a fact. But the right, again, who is doing this? They're bringing this harm. They are trying to manipulate us into believing that this isn't a thing. Let's carry on. The second point that I have is victims have to be allowed innocence. This is uncomfortable, but it is real, okay? African suffering is often framed as inevitable, internal, chaotic, and that's just how it is here. When you go to the hood and you talk to the kids and you ask them like, yo, how do you feel about what's going on in your environment? How do you feel about, kids getting killed that you went to school with? How do you feel about what's going on? Your house getting broken up too. You seeing everybody sell drugs. Your parents probably do what they got to do to make sure you good, Everything is happening in your life. You know what they just say? That's just how it is. I'm from a concrete jungle. That's what happens. And that is because they are so used to suffering that they've lost all hope. They don't even believe it's something that they can do. So then empathy gets replaced with resignation and not outrage, but it becomes shrugging, right? That's not about what bad move Congo made, what bad move Sudan made, what bad move Rwanda made. That is about racialized expectations. Again, the white man hit me in the stomach. He tearing my ass up. But the moment I swing back, what the fuck? The third point I want to make is there has to be a villain people are allowed to confront. Empathy spikes when there's a villain that can be named, sanctioned, protested safely. Everything that I just named, it's just not possible with Congo. Congo's exploitation implicates multinational corporations, global supply chain, Western consumers, government people who do not want to indict themselves. It is easier to chant against someone over there, but it's hard to admit when you benefit from this war. It's easier to chant against someone from the opposite table, from the opposite side of you. It is very, 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 very hard to chant against someone who is standing right next to you because that is your partner in crime. Let's carry on. Time erodes urgency. That's the fourth point. Time erodes urgency. Congo has been bleeding for decades. Like I told y'all, this conflict that's been going on in Congo has been happening since the late 90s, right? The world treats longevity as proof that it must be complicated. It has always been like that and nothing can be done. This is not logic. That's empathy fatigue weaponized against African American suffering. Africans suffering, Jamaicans suffering, Dominicanos suffering, Africans around the world suffering. And no, this is not because Congo played the game wrong. That framing itself is a part of the problem. Congo was carved up. It was stripped. It was destabilized. It was reacted. It was re-extracted. And then blamed for emerging clean. The prerequisite was never good governance. The prerequisite was being seen as human enough to matter in a crisis. See, the disparity between Congo and Palestine is we see two genocides, but Palestine got media coverage, Palestine got aid, Palestine got support, Palestine got billions of dollars poured into it and against it. Congo got independent media coverage, which does not even compare to Western media in no way, shape, or form. The prerequisite is Congo, Sudan, and Africans that are suffering are not humanized. And they are not seen human enough to matter even in the middle of a world crisis. What does that tell you? Because I know what it tells me. It tells me that the suffering of Africans has become so normal. It's chronic pain. And acute pain will always overshadow chronic pain. I'm going to read this last part. Selective empathy exists because the suffering of Africans has been historically normalized. Global systems profit from Congo staying invisible. Attention follows narratives, not body counts. You're sensing the dissonance because your soul knows pain shouldn't be branding to be acknowledged. We are in a world where if it is not a brand attached to it, we don't understand it. I want to make things extremely clear if you've made it this far. Please, and I beg you, do not make it seem like I'm making a suffering Olympics. What I urge you to do is ask yourself, why have the world only been paying attention to one genocide when there's hundreds going on? And then I want you to go in, I want you to say, when those genocides are occurring, where suffering is, why is nobody coming to the rescue? Why is nobody pointing to these people? Why are we not focusing on the suffering of Africans? Regardless, don't just focus on the fact that Africa is suffering. Focus on the prerequisite. The disparity is when Africans suffer, nobody's paying attention. The prerequisite is, why aren't we doing that? It's because African suffering has become so normalized that nobody's paying attention to it. African suffering is chronic pain. Anybody other than Africans that is suffering is viewed as acute pain. Now, I myself am trying to find resources, a way that I can get in. I am not rich. I am not a rich YouTuber. But a way that I can be of help. So if you guys know anything, please comment down below. I'm interested to see you guys' point of view. I like to engage with y'all in the comments, talk to y'all. So just let me know what you guys believe, how you guys feel. Maybe if you guys know something, maybe you guys disagree, agree. I welcome all comments. As always, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you guys for staying with me. Appreciate you.